20 of the best rFactor2 drivers from around the world are about to take part in an online qualifier for the world's fastest gamer. Now, as you can see, I'm quite frankly not one of them, but one person is about to get a chance to get out of life in the slow lane. Let's find out who. Welcome to World's Fastest Gamer HQ. Welcome to Silverstone. And let me let you into a secret. This, quite frankly, is currently the hottest place on Earth. But that is fine. What an apt place for our racers to do battle, because we have 20 of the fastest racers on the planet, fastest racers on rFactor2, about to go head-to-head to win a fantastic prize. That is their share of $10,000. First prize, $1,500. But there's a big thing that goes with that, and that is the fact that they will get a place in the final of the world's fastest gamer. 17,000 laps these races have done between them. If they make it to that final, take that first prize, they will be in for a chance of winning a prize which we can confidently say is the biggest in e-racing history, worth $1 million. That is the fact that they will be trained on track, real tracks, and they will get to race in some of the most iconic racetracks on the planet. Places like Spa, Nürburgring, Daytona, or even just outside that window over there, they could be racing on Silverstone. Now, if you're watching this right now, you may be pretty good at racing games. You saw me earlier on. I am rubbish at them. Back in the past, if you just had to accelerate and crash into a wall, I was fine with it. If you're good, maybe you need a rig to go with it. That is why we're giving you the chance to win one of these all-in-sport rigs. They are worth $30,000. Do you want to win one? Here is how you do it. It is one of the most amazing rigs I've ever had a go on. It is beautiful. $30,000 worth of rig right there. If you want to win it, you want to be in a chance with it, all you need to do is go to the World's Fastest Gamers Facebook, Instagram or Twitter page and follow or like the page or comment on the All in Sport rig video post to be in with a chance on the draw. The winner we're going to choose at random, so it could well be you, and we'll announce it before the end of this show. That is less than about an hour. Checking my invisible watch that I've forgotten to put on. All the social media handles are now on screen. You'll be able to see them in just a second. I promise you they'll appear. It's a hell of a prize and one which is well worth winning if you want to take up a career in sim racing or quite literally want to race on something as beautiful as that. There you go, the handles are there. Now, not only that, we're also giving away a Fanatec CSL Elite pedal and wheel, plus the Ultimate rFactor2 pack, the game and the tracks as well. All you need to do in that is listen out for the phrase that pays. During the show tonight, one of us, myself, Nick or Rudy, will tell you what it is. Then you need to enter on the WFG website to have a chance of winning. Now, last season, the first season of the World's Fastest Gamer was epic. You know that. You watched it. But let's give you a recap of how epic it was.
Previously on World's Fastest Gamer.
What we're looking at here is how we can take a gamer and make them a simulator driver.
Welcome. Come in.
3, 2, 1. Let's go race.
Gregor in the light blue has crashed into Bono.
Race 1, lap 1.
Oh my God.
Bono, you are out of the race.
Right now, I wouldn't work with you. This is real life. This is a real job interview.
And it's a great start by Harry Jacks from pole.
Oh, great move.
Just get your head down and chase off.
Harry, no mistakes.
Oh no, Frank, he's gone upside down.
Oh, that was a big What did I say?
Virtual gaming, it's mentally very demanding. You need to have right people around you who can advise you.
This is the lap. We need to go from 11 of the world's fastest gamers down to 6.
You're on top 6.
Thank you.
Don't let me down.
This is now the final process to select the final 2.
I'm not sure I agree with your technique.
Oh, that's it.
You have the speed.
He's driven faster than the factory McLaren driver.
You have 24 hours to prove us that you have consistency.
So are you telling me now I'm in the final?
No.
Because we've got 3 that are that good. Let's give it a go.
But which one of these drivers could you get up to a stage where you could work with them?
There's 4 of us here and I'm the one making the decision.
We've got 2 finalists from tens of thousands of entrants, and it's with great pleasure to announce the 2017 World's Fastest Gamer, Rudy van Buren.
Oh, that little squint of the eyes at the end. Rudy van Buren is with me now, winner of Season 1 of the World Fastest Gamer. What was that moment like? You just come down in the lift, you stand in front of them, they tell you you've won the prize.
Pure relief.
Was it relief?
Yeah.
Was it excitement mixed in?
Of course there's excitement, but relief is the biggest thing, because we had a day off before that, so we were literally just sitting around in the hotel, in the McLaren factory, waiting for that news, and you know certain people around you have the answer. So every bad scenario goes through your mind, like I ticked every box I could do, but is it enough? Because we had fierce competition. And then when you hear your own name, then it's like, ah. And then you can start enjoying it.
And the competition was fierce, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For you to win that prize. And how long was the process? Because it wasn't a matter of days. I mean, you were on edge for weeks and weeks and weeks, weren't you, from the first moment you entered?
Yeah, we did the pre-qualification, I think, in September. It's quite the same system as now. And then the finals week was nearly 2 weeks.
Now, your prize was a year contract working with the McLaren F1 sim rig. Talk me through the rig, because it's not just any average rig, this, is it?
No, you should think about like one of these flight simulators, the ones that move up and down, left and right, and then that kind of system, but then strapped into a Formula 1 cockpit, basically. Helmet on, everything full, like the real thing, and then just going through the process that any Formula 1 driver does. Car development, tyre development, setup related, everything.
What tracks were you driving?
Anything.
Anything?
Just what's on the calendar. Just literally, you could literally pick, okay, I'm in here just after Barcelona, you can gamble it was Barcelona.
How many laps were you doing on an average week? Because it looked like, I mean, they were working you. This was not just any old prize. They were working you for that.
Yeah, they did. But I was in it for about 25 days through the year, and on a regular day you do between 150 and 200 laps in the sim.
Now, McLaren been loads better on the track this year. That's got to be down to you, isn't it? And your sim work. It's got to be down to your sim work. And it's not just virtual driving, is it? Because obviously you started in the virtual world. We saw you winning a virtual cup. You are now racing on proper tracks. Yep. Talk me through the race you did. In fact, you did one last weekend, didn't you? Yeah.
I've always said it was a goal to use it as a stepping stone into the real world. And in fact, I've said from the early get-go that Porsche Super Cup or Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland is one of my goals. I tried it for a full season this year, couldn't get the program together, but made it so far that I did 3 guest starts this year as a stepping stone into 2020.
And this is you racing right now?
Yep, this was last weekend in Nürburgring, Germany.
Can I ask how you got on?
Yeah, this weekend wasn't the best. Actually, this place, which you guys see now on screen, I got taken out in a collision by 2 others.
Oh, how dare they?
But
they feared your power, that's why, Rudy.
but the week before was twice the top 10 on a debut, so I can't complain. Racing has up and downs.
How many times have you driven the Nürburgring virtually before you got on track in that Porsche?
I think it's between 1,500 and 2,500 laps.
And because the braking places are the same, the layout of the track's the same, the angle of the track's the same. So did it feel like you were home, like you were racing virtually, but the fact that if you hit the wall it was going to sting?
Well, that's always the case. That's the biggest difference between virtual and reality. But yeah, you feel at home quite soon. Of course there's different aspects in a real car which you need to get used to, but because of the sim, you don't arrive in a certain location not knowing where you are, as in left, right, braking points roughly. And for a matter of fact, that's why all the racing teams, even just real drivers, so to say, use those as a preparation, just to be more prepared when you get to the actual track.
And what were the other drivers like with you, knowing the route that you've taken? You've come through a virtual racing background.
They're skeptic because,
are they?
well, you can look at it nobody wants to lose from a gamer. So you've got a bit extra light on you. But it's up to me to deal with that and just show, like, hey, I'm just like one of the others. I'm not a standout, right? It's not like that. Just treat me like anyone else.
Were they frosty with you?
No, they're fine.
They're fine?
They're fine. they're fine.
Because the thing with the virtual racing world is it's a friendly world, isn't it? The community is a good community. Oh, is it not?
No, there's a good community, but everywhere you got love and hate.
Yeah.
Also in sim racing, so you got communities, got the guys that are likely, the guys who are a bit more arrogant, so to say. You got ups and downs everywhere. But I think in general, the whole community of sim racing is just very good.
And what are those weekends like that you spend when you're racing in the Porsche Super Cup or wherever you're racing on the track? What is it like when you get down there? You put on your overalls, you put on your race suit, put on your helmet, jump into the car.
Yeah, well, you arrive on a Thursday and then you do the track walk, you run through it with the team. But I think the main, well, it might sound super, the main highlight for me, especially the first weekend when I got there, was my name was on the front windshield. Some of the pictures behind me here, you can see the car on, not currently, but just before. And you have like Van Buren on the window. That's like an accomplishment. Like I've been saying it for over a year, this is what I want to do. And then making sure you're finally on the grid in such an event, that's really cool. But to answer your question more directly, you arrive on a Thursday, and then Friday's free practice, Saturday's quali, Sunday's race.
I love the idea that you know you've arrived, don't you? When you see your name on the windscreen of the car, you know that's your moment, don't you?
Yeah.
Have you managed to keep that little sticker? Have you took it with you?
No, not the sticker, but I've got plenty of pictures.
Now, talk me through. I want to talk a little bit more about the McLaren sim. What was your day like? What was your day like? Would you go in the morning? Was there a briefing? How did your day work when you were in and testing on the sim?
It's a full day program, so you get in about 8:15, 8:30 in the morning. You get in, you run through it. You've got like a run plan, just like any real-life testing day in Formula 1 or any racing series nowadays. You get there, you sit down with your engineer, or engineers in this case, and just run through the day, which is the plan. And then you start going. You got a tea break around 10 for about 15 minutes. You got lunch at 1-ish. And then the tea break in the afternoon, if there's time. But regularly it's between 8:30 and 5.
Are they good snacks?
Poor McLaren catering.
I thought it might be. Now let's talk about rFactor, because that is the game obviously we're going to see whenever the race starts, which is a not too distant future. That is the race that you qualified through.
Yep. I'm a big fan of rFactor2. I think it's arguably the best one out there, physics-wise, tyre model-wise. So I've been with them from the beginning, even rFactor1, so to say. I've always been in love with it.
Are you still putting time into that game?
A little bit, but it's more difficult nowadays because I'm way more abroad, so to say, working for various teams with simulator work, not just McLaren. I'm doing it in different racing series as well. So it eats up a lot of time, but as soon as I'm home for a few days and I've got a bit of breathing space, then I'm straight away back on the sim.
Well, I think what we should do, you're here now, obviously now in a commentary position, having won last season. This was the point, though, where he was one of 20 racers looking to qualify through to the final. If you missed that race, let's take a look at some of the highlights.
Green, 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 says race control. The cars splay out and head towards the first turn. And who's got the inside line? Van Buren is going to go down the inside of right belt. They're side by side as they go through the corner. And it looks like a bit of contact mid-pack, but everyone's still facing in the right direction. And still at the front, side by side as they now come into Beckett's. And it's right belt who's taken it. Kevin Ryan making his way up through the pack. It's Ryan to the inside then of Ballester going into Brooklands, and he makes that stick. Lovely move.
And you see the top three as we get the commitment up the inside. This is for the lead of the race up the inside. There's Van Buren. There's contact between the pair of them, and Van Buren's done it. That could be a crucial move. Rudy van Buren hits the front at Silverstone National. That possibly, if he stays there, could be the move that wins in the final.
Here comes Wisniewski down the inside of right field. He forces him wide, and that is a lovely move, exactly the same as what Rudy van Buren did 2 laps ago. Oh, and that's a brave move. Thrings it down the inside into Maggots and Beckett's, which really is not a place you should overtake. Wisniewski is super, super close, but now it's just an accelerating drag race to the line, and Van Buren has held on, and he's driven it absolutely brilliantly. And Rudy van Buren takes victory ahead of Nikodem Wisniewski and Jeffrey Reichveld. What a race!
I was just watching there, and you were saying that you were screaming at what point?
Well, coming off the last corner.
Off the last corner.
I knew that I had it.
It was close, though.
Yeah, that raises a pressure cooker runs on as well. So when the relief was off, I just screamed.
And where were you sat?
Well, just at home in my office on a simple place seat with a Logitech wheel at the time.
Was anyone around listening to you scream?
My girlfriend was downstairs, yeah.
Did she wonder what was going on? Did she know what was happening at that moment?
She knew what I was doing, so she knew it was either very bad or very good when she heard me screaming.
And we saw a bit of contact there. Yeah. A bit of contact coming through the corner.
Robin's racing. That track, particularly Silverstone National, at one place to overtake, and as soon as Jeffrey Reichveld, the guy in the orange car, opened up the gap, I knew it was a one-shot opportunity, and you could see I went for it.
Now, there's a mix of different sims of people coming through that will make it to the World Fastest Gamer final. How well do you think the rFactor2 races will go? Because obviously, with the season that's gone already, 100%, you won it. How do you think they'll go this year?
I think everybody from every platform will be fine in the end. Yes, we can say someone has a preference for a certain game, but in the end, if you're a world champion or race winner in those, you're fast. And now in this case, with the new World Fastest Game competition, it's going to be, okay, who's going to translate it to the real car and then make the job as a complete package. So I'm quite curious to see. They all come from a different foundation, as in different game, but how do they get along when they get put into a real car?
With the rFactor2 community, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching right now who are part of that community. What is it like?
Humble.
Is it humble?
Yeah. It's
Why is that? Where does the humility come from?
Because it's spread out all over the world, but everybody helps each other at the same time. It's difficult to explain what is sim racing, what is e-racing all around the world, and I try to look at it as a bit like if you compare it to soccer. You've got clubs everywhere, but everybody does the same game, and then for certain championships you come together. Well, World's Fastest Gamer is one of them. People get the best from the best, get together here to get a major prize.
But you don't want to help out your competitors. So what is the help that people are offering each other? Is it sim setups?
Well,
is it
you've got
racing
teams.
techniques?
No, you've got teams, and you can say you don't want to help your competitor, but you need someone else who's fast to improve yourself. So you push each other to a higher level, and then if you're with someone who's fair to you, at least from my side, you can handle more pressure, or you can handle more if someone beats you. As long as it's fair and you work together and you score a 1-2, it's fine.
Now, looking at some of the amount of laps that people have done to qualify, I think we know that one racer put in 709 laps and still didn't qualify for this, still not in the top 20. Yeah. That's a phenomenal amount of laps.
Yeah, and that's even the laps they actually completed. I think we could add a few zeros at certain places if we could look at the laps that people started but then abandoned because they made a mistake or anything. Now, people really put in the time in this 2 weeks qualifier.
So, incomplete laps, how many do you reckon?
2,000, 3,000, 4,000.
Ah! Monstrous. Let's talk about Season 2 of the World Fastest Gamer. What can we look forward to this year? What can we expect?
A new challenge. People will say, well, we've seen World Fastest Gamer 1, we know what the final will be like. Well, I can be short for them. No, won't be like that. It will be a new package with a bit more towards the real car. That's why I also said I'm curious to see if people come from different gaming stages, how do they perform when they get put in the real car? With the prize that's on the table, it's going to be life-changing.
Looking at the World Fastest Gamer head judge, it's Grand Prix 2-time Indy 500 and 3-time Royal X24 Daytona winner, Juan Pablo Montoya. I mean, that is some head judge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite cool. I find it quite cool I can call in my colleague for the finals.
All right, it's going to be
really
amazing.
Cool.
That is good, isn't it? Yeah. It's going to be now in an epic location. We can tease the location, can't we? We can indeed.
Try. I think you need a snowboard.
Oh, OK. Nice. What's in store for the gamers? What are we looking for in the gamers, do you think? What are we looking for in the drivers this year?
Adaptability. I think that's the biggest part. Adaptability and how strong are they mentally. Imagine you're one of the 10, you put in an epic location, you get to put in a real racing car, which most of them have not done before, and then you need to perform. And you know it's going to be some sort of dropout or qualifying with points or anything. I don't know at the moment, but expect it to be something like that. So you can say pressure's on from the get-go.
Exciting, exciting. I love pressure.
Yeah.
But which is pretty much what's happening right now. If you look at the sweat that's on both of our brows. Your commentary position, is that cooler than here?
No, I think mine's warmer than yours.
Right, they're probably going to do the commentary naked when it comes to it. Now, there are going to be 9 other finalists in the competition alongside the winner of tonight's race. 4 of them have been selected already. That is a fascinating lineup so far, isn't it? Let's go through them. First off, Aurélien Mallet. Apologies if I'm getting your name completely wrong there. World champion in Forza Motorsport, was a finalist in the season that you won.
Yep, I know.
What is he like?
A very friendly French guy. I think one of the things we saw in World Fastest Gamer 1, that coming from Forza, he struggled a little bit to adapt to the different platforms. But knowing him as a person from especially the first week, I think he took that as a lesson and made sure that this year, when he gets to the final, he'll be prepared on any platform, and he's definitely one of the contenders.
How much does it help him, do you think, having been there before? It's got to. You know what to expect, surely.
Yeah, I think it helps a little bit, but in the end, you need to perform on the date when you're there. So
it's the pressure. Once again, it's all about pressure.
But it might be extra pressure because you think you've got an expectation, and you get there and it's completely different.
All right. Then we've got Kamil Pawlowski, Project Cars champion. What do you know about Kamil?
I don't know him personally. But if he's Project Cars champion, he will be fast.
Then we've got Mitchell de Jong. Now, Mitchell is super interesting. Rallycross iRacing champion, runner-up in iRacing Grand Prix Series, rebel athlete for Rallycross, races in real life. Will he have an advantage because he's been putting in the laps in the real world?
I think most of the people will think so. But I look at it from two ways. Yes, he'll have an advantage initially, but then can he convince the judges or just the competition in general as much as someone else who's completely new and has a steeper learning curve through the week? I expect him to be up front straight away when he gets put in a car, just being more comfortable than someone else. But just being super fast from the get-go won't be enough to win the competition.
Then we've got Max Benecke. Now, he is a champion in the iRacing Blancpain GT Series, experience in virtual GT3 cars. How much is that going to help him?
I think it's a very, very good competitor. A nice side note as well, he tried to qualify in the rFactor2 ranks. He took part in the qualifying. He was actually P4 or 5 after the 2 weeks. So he's one to watch out.
Now, I tell you who we need to watch out for, and that is Rudy himself, because they're going to battle it out in a 40-minute race around Sebring. And one person who has been around the Sebring track, a very hot lap in the hottest room on the planet, is Rudy. Let's take a look at his hot lap.
So, there we go, a lap around Sebring. Start on the start, finish straight, you get your car as close as there to the wall, keep it in 5th, and then you go back to 3rd gear. And we hug the inside wall, and when you hit the second big bump, you can give full throttle again. Use all the track on the exit. Here we brake at 200 meters and we turn in a little bit late and then clip the curbstone when you hit the cone. Keep it in 2nd gear. Early entry, straighten the car up for good traction. Then we get a long right-hander and maybe the first real overtaking point of the track. We brake just after the 400-meter sign. Start braking, back to 1st gear. Early entry, rotate the car on the curbstone, straighten it up, early full throttle. This is the end of the 1st sector. Straight away we get into another spot where you could potentially overtake. Brake just before 300. Back to 1st gear, tight entry, straighten the car up. Long left-hander. Keep the flow going. You make sure you straighten the car for braking and turn in late. Just where the cone is, you can clip the inside curb a bit and then use all the curb on the exit. End of sector 2 right here. Double apex flat out left-hander. Then we get a tricky bit. Turn in early, use the curbstone to rotate the car. Here clip the car behind the curbstone and here try to do the same. You put the front wheel inside, which gives a bit of extra rotation and also exit speed. Then we're on the, well, almost last straight. Potentially another overtaking spot, but the braking zone coming up is really tricky. You actually turn in, or you turn in and then you brake. But then the problem is the bumps. You can take various ways over the bumps. I always tend to go in early, but in the race we'll definitely see people taking more speed and running a wider line. But that's it, a lap around Sebring.
Just watching that hot lap, Rudy. Could have been mine. Who'd have known? You were on it there. It is an impressive rig, this, isn't it? This all-in sport racing rig.
Yeah. I think if you just look at it, the carbon finish, the carbon bucket where it's built on, the super rigid frame, professional pedals, Leo Botner, force feedback, top notch.
Comfortable as well. When we were rehearsing earlier on, A, you did a better lap than me in your socks, and B, because it's so warm in here, and I'm sorry to keep labouring the point, but as you can see, we've got a sweat on. You almost fell asleep sat in it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, this seat's perfect.
Talk about the specs for me. What makes this rig so good?
Well, I'll start so I can point a bit. I'll stop so I can point a bit. I think the highlight is the Leo Botner force feedback. Direct drive, top notch. We top it off with a custom steering wheel with a very nice touchscreen as well.
Was that a touchscreen?
Yeah, it's touchscreen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You just hit it and it goes on. We've got professional racing pedals where you actually need to hit the force like you expected. You brake and nothing happened because you actually need to hit it. We've got an amazing big screen, as said before, a very solid frame. It's just one hell of a racer.
How much do you need a good sim rig if you're going to be fast in real life?
It's arguably, I'd say a very good sim rig doesn't make you faster in lap time wise, but it makes you more comfortable, so it makes you more consistent.
Well, do a bit more driving for me. Just to point out again, this is the rig that somebody is going to win tonight. I'm not sure it's this particular one. If it is, I promise you we will wipe it down because Rudy's in it right now, giving it the best.
I'll give it a good rub.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you will be feeling like if you're in a race car.
Yeah, 100%. And this is what the guys will be using in the finals as well.
Yeah.
So it's one of the best.
Absolutely flying around there, aren't you? Do you like the Sebring track of all the tracks?
Very
What is
cool.
it about it you like it so much?
It's a driver track with the bumps. Practice makes a difference, so as in putting more effort in. It's good for overtaking, which I hope the guys showcase as well in the race in a bit. A track with history. It's just one of those tracks on the calendar.
Yeah, I was so pathetic when I used this earlier on. Everyone was watching me as well. It was so embarrassing. And there is something about carbon fibre that makes everyone excited, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you faster, just looking at it.
Makes you faster just looking at it. It's lighter as well. Remember, this is a $30,000 worth of prize. Not only can you win this, you can also win the WFG social channel. You can win the Fanatec CSL Elite Wheel and Pedals plus the Ultimate rFactor2 pack. It includes the game, the tracks and the cars. All you need to do is listen in for the phrase that pays. We'll tell you the password later on via the website. Nick, my man, how are you from Radio Le Mans?
I'm having a fabulous time. Thank you so much for inviting me to your sauna. If I'd known, I'd have worn my Speedos.
You are. Who knows what you're going to be wearing when it comes to the commentary? Who knows what's under the desk right now? Now, Nick, talk to me. Obviously, I just mentioned it to Rudy, what Sebring is like as a track. You've been there. You've been in the pits there. What is it like?
The thing about Sebring is it was a converted airfield from the Second World War. It was all concrete runways, and unlike the converted airfield just behind us, most of it's never been resurfaced, which means
Still that long?
Yeah, so it's incredibly bumpy because it's A, the concrete wasn't very flat to begin with, and it's had years of movement and heat and wet, and it is renowned as the bumpiest circuit that any modern car still race on, and that's the challenge. And the thing about it is it's been modelled by 397 Studios who build rFactor2. They've laser scanned it, which means they actually replicated not just the corners, not the curves, not the build, but every single bump has been replicated onto the sim. It's amazing. But it does see when you watch the cars going round, they've been doing that the whole time. Why are they doing that? Because it's that bumpy.
What problem does that give to the drivers?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is, on a smooth track, you pick up a line and you can hold that line every time. If you've got a bump, suddenly, boom, you're not in the right place. And sometimes the best line on the track is no longer the best line because there's a huge bump in it. So you have to alter your line and also think about how it's going to affect other cars around you.
Looking at the speeds that we're seeing from some of these drivers, how close are they to real-world speeds?
Well, interesting, actually, the pole time is 2 or 3 seconds faster than the real pole time for a GT3 car as set in the IMSA Championship back in March. But there's reasons for that. One of the main reasons, obviously, is that all cars are limited by their tyres or advanced by their tyres, and of course the tyres on the IMSA is not the same as the tyres that are modelled here, and that's will make up for the 2-second difference. But they are GT3 cars. You've got ABS, you've got traction control, but you can turn it down or turn it up, and they are, as I found myself, tricky to drive earlier, and I managed to crash at just about every corner.
Have you had to go as well?
How'd it go?
We were
Brilliant.
pathetic, weren't we? Were you better than I was?
I'm not sure I quite made pathetic, to be honest. They took some pictures, and the major comment I got was, I was wearing the wrong shoes.
Oh, right,
so
okay. Rudy did it earlier in his socks, he was that good. In his socks. I think the problem is, for a lot of people, if you tried the old racing games, Gran Turismo, the rest of it, there was a lot of, well, it was easier, wasn't it? And you could ram into the walls and still get round it. Exactly. Nowadays, it's so much more difficult.
Too difficult.
Now, qualifying has happened already. On pole is Erhan Yaniovski, and we spoke to him earlier on to talk about his pole. Erhan, you are pole. That was some hot lap.
Thank you very much. It felt pretty good.
It does. We're just watching some pictures of it right now. With the laps you've set before on this track, playing it before today, how quick is that for you? Is that the quickest you've gone?
If I'm not mistaken, this was my personal best right here.
What a time to do it as well.
That's got you on pole for the race. We've got a 45-minute race. And what are your tactics for those 20-plus laps?
Tactics, it really depends on the conditions we are going to race on, because we don't quite know. Yeah.
Well, Erhan, it's fabulous to talk to you. We'll let you go off and get prepared for the race. Maybe speak to you afterwards.
Thank you.
It's worth pointing out we spoke to him just as he set that lap.
Yes.
He wasn't particularly fazed by it, was he?
He seemed as underwhelmed as you can be for setting pole for the race that will very probably, if he wins, change his life.
Now, he's taken pole by 0.120 of a second. In this sort of game, in this sort of race, that is a big margin. He is fast.
Yeah, are you surprised how big the margin is?
No, I think anything below a 57.5 was in the range of guys saying, okay, this was one of the arguably best lap I've done so far. So he just pointed out, he just, like, how do you say it? He peaked at the right moment. He just did that magic lap. If you see how many guys are in a 0.5 actually, just looking a bit more down, it's P3 to P7.
It's fast behind. It's very, very close, isn't it? Would you say that Erhan then is the favourite for the race? And he comes into it with a good pedigree, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's the clear favourite. Started up front, rolling start. So it's up to him to lose the race, basically.
Rudy, can you give us a one to follow? Someone from the middle of the pack who may come through and surprise us.
I think P5 and 6 are known as very, I won't say aggressive, but very pointy races. They want to go forward. And what do you have to lose from P5, 6, 7, anywhere down?
That's Risto Capet from Estonia and Hani El Sabti from your home country, Netherlands.
Yep.
So who would you put your money on? Looking at this right now, knowing the scene, knowing some of the races, I would guess, who would you put your money on?
Erwin.
You think it's that good?
Yeah.
If it's his to lose, where could the problems come for him?
Well, they need to make a pit stop, which always puts in a bit of a strategic game. Do you run as far as that you can on your fuel load? Do you go in a bit earlier, get free track? It gets a bit with strategic. So I think pace-wise, well, he can obviously do it. But now is he as smart as some of them behind him?
Nick, what strategy would you go with the pit stop?
Personally, I would go early, but I've had a long conversation with Rudy. He told me it's a silly idea.
Why is that a silly idea?
Because they're about 50 litres short in the race, and 50 litres equals about 40 kilos, which is a certain amount of lap time loss a lap. So the earlier you go in, you need to put that fuel in, so you basically accept that your car is 2-3 tenths slower after the stop. So you need to have 4 or 5 tenths to even make up to the guy in front. So then the debate starts. Am I stuck? Am I losing a lot of time? Or can I just barely stay with him? That's the whole debate where you're stuck in them.
Now, we're not far off the start of the race. For the other 19 races who aren't Erhan, what's the best overtaking place on Sebring?
I'd say the hairpin. I think that's the easiest one to point out and the best place in the track. You come on really fast, hard braking zone, wide on entry.
Also, it looks like we've started already. They're starting to roll round. Right. Track limits. What track limits will they be looking for?
I think it's not really an issue here. If there's either big curbstones and then it's grass. I think there's no issues with
I think it's more bad behaviour they're looking at.
Yep, that's what
aggressive overtakes, or aggressive undertakes, or nudging.
Yeah. As a viewer, I hope we get some of those. Nick, Rudy, I think it's time for you to take your position in the slightly less warm room, ready for the commentary as they head over there and we can see that everything has started. Remember, you can get in touch via all of our social channels. We've had some great comments in already. Lando Norris says, good luck racers, sim racers will rule the racing world. Mark Stallion, what makes the rig so good and expensive? Show the rig, tell us. We'll do that a little bit later on. Twitch Paper Girl, Rudy looks really in shape. Do sim racers need to work out to be fast? Does it make a difference? He does look in shape. Very buff. What a beefcake. OJ and Rudy, what's your favourite car to be driven? What dream car would you have? Me personally, I like old sports cars. I think in old sports cars you look pretty cool, whatever the old sports car may be. 20 drives, remember, are going to be battling out for this prize. $1,500 the winner will be taking home. That's only the first part of their prize. They'll also make it through to the final of the world's fastest game, which is happening sometime in October. That prize is going to be monstrous. $1 million it is worth. They'll get a chance to race in real cars. They'll also race in some of the best circuits on the planet. Remember, this is the race that they need to win to qualify for that. So this really could be the first step in them taking on a full-time racing career. So then, our commentators are in place. Let's hand over to Rudy van Buren. But we'll start off with Nick.
So the cars are on their warm-up lap for the start of this 40-minute qualifier for the world's fastest game of Part 2. Winner takes all as far as the progression in the competition is concerned, but there's cash prizes all the way down. But this is a race that's going to change someone's life for the better and certainly for the more interesting as the cars crawl round on this warm-up lap. Rudy, give us an idea of how are the drivers feeling as we warm up this lap?
This is just a race of nerves all the way through. They're running on the pit limiter, so 80 kilometers an hour. You know it's going to be about 4 minutes the whole lap. Basically, as a leader, this is the time to think, okay, what can I do wrong? And everyone back is like, okay, what can I do to get to the front ASAP?
Rolling start. Realistically, that should have less problem than the standing start. But a lot of people who are perhaps in the mid-pack have really got to try and make a move early on, haven't they? Because we know that these cars are all very even. It's hard to overtake. What is your feeling? Do you ever qualify the mid-pack? And if you do, what are your tactics then?
Well, in a race like this, when it's a one-take wonder, you got to go ASAP when the people are bunched up. So when you're not in the top 3, I'd say, you want to make moves early on. If you're P2 or 3, like I was, for example, 1 year ago, I was P2, you're okay. You're in the mix, you can still go for it. But further down, you want to attack as soon as possible.
So the cars are coming side by side. They'll be starting 2 by 2 in Noah's Ark fashion, and it'll be Erhan Yossi, who we spoke to on pole. Next to him on the front row will be Jurnej Simičić from Slovenia. The second row will be Kuba Borensky from Poland and his fellow Pole, and the man who actually qualified fastest for the online version of this, the qualifying times, Nico Wisniewski from Poland, will be in fourth. And we have Risto Capet and Hani Al-Sabti, who are the two picks from Rudy van Buren next to me, as the cars get ready to begin this 40-minute race. Now, the key thing about this is there is a pit stop, and that is going to be in the tactics, and it's very hard to overtake here. It's very hard with even cars and great drivers, but that pit stop is going to weigh on the minds of the drivers as they come now up to the line and wait to start this 40-minute race. Will be 40 minutes and 40 seconds. A lot of advice from the race director about keeping in line, doing what you can. So it's on your left-hand side is Jajowski. Your right-hand side is Jajowski, left-hand side is Borensky, and they pull away. There's a clean start as they go underneath us now, and so far going into turn one, whilst they're shuffling around, we got a massive accident there, spun round, but amazingly missed everybody. I'm not quite sure who that was. Looks like it may have been Moritz, I'm not sure, or Jimmy Nusula, but they come through, and it's still Erhan Jajowski leading from Kuba Brzezinski in second, and people taking a little bit of liberties on turn two as they come into the infield first. They're going to sweep round the fast-running Big Bend, as it used to be known, turn 6, before they come in for the first time into the sharp hairpin, and then we're joining a couple of cars who had an accident. We'll try and pick that up a bit later. But at the front is Jajowski from Brzezinski. Great start for the front, but a lot of chaos in the middle there, really.
It was actually Nico Wisniewski who spun in the first corner. The guy who got second last time around. Well, that's a pity to take so early on. We can see Erwin and Kuba straight away stretching their legs, but behind that you can see what we kind of expected already. People are going to make moves early on, and then a rolling start is in some way safer, but the pack is still bunched up and approaching even faster to T1. So I wonder what's going to happen now, because now everybody's going to find their sweet spot and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, Nico losing it on the first few corners is a major upset. He did qualify, said faster out of the online qualifying competition. Stuck it in fourth. It looked like I don't think he got touched. It looked more like he got kind of a tank slap on it in some way. I don't know whether he kind of turn and brake at the same time. It's a weird accident, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult to judge from the camera point we had available at the time, but it's quite easy when you get like a front wheel and a rear wheel collide. You get like this. The car who's in front slides in front of the other, and it looked to me like something like that happened. So just a brief contact can already cause such a thing, and then we could probably say heads off for not taking anyone with it.
And as they come down to finish the first lap, unfortunately, we've already got a few people who aren't taking part anymore in the race. We have Arnie Schoenfleth, we have Yunus Reveo, Jimmy Nusila, and Levin Muracek are all not actually competing. So we only got 16 cars now running after the first. I think a couple of those we lost in an accident early on. I think a couple may not have actually made the start. So down to a 16-car race being led by Erhan Jajowski. Kuba Brzezinski is in second, and then behind him it's Simičić and Capet, but there's a little bit of a gap now for our leader. Jajowski pulling out as he comes into the complex again here at Sebring, and the others are already nose to tailing. Now this is the point really where if you're sitting in the green car in the middle of this this pack, I mean the 4 car we're looking at, which is Risto Capet, what do you do at this point? Where can you start to move forward?
Well, at this stage in the race, you're looking at your opponent. Okay, where am I quicker? Where can I make a move? As you can see now, this is the hairpin which I explained ahead. Probably the best overtaking spot. Where does he brake? Can I brake later? Can I prepare a late move for the next lap? This is all going around in his head right now. He can see Erwin and Kuba driving away, so he knows he needs to go.
So this is the start again on replay. Let's see if we can pick up. So Jajowski was in 4th place, wasn't he? So he should be the blue car there in the second row, and we'll try and see what happened to him. Puts the power on. Does he get a nudge from the second place man? No, he decides to try and get to space, and in doing that, he edges one of the other green cars and somehow seems to miss most people, takes a large amount of barrage. He must have some damage on the car as well. But it was really a case he jinked away from, I think, a contact with Simičić, and that was what took him into that spin situation.
Yeah, I see this racing incident with 60% of the blame on himself. He went to the left and simply said there was someone there. Paid the price.
And they're coming down the main straight. This is the Allman straight, the back straight, named after Alec Allman, who was the man who put the money into the first race, believe it or not. So the track's a weird combination for America. It's got some numbered turns, it's got some named turns. Some of the named turns are just like things, like this bend here, which is Sunset Bend, and some actually are named after people. It's like they've kind of had a well, we'll call it this time, and we'll call it that time. It's I think indicative of a track that's been around for 50 years. We're on board now with Hani Al-Sabti, one of your tips. Why was he one of your tips? Why do you think Hani is a good chance here?
Because I know Hani is a fighter in the race, and so is Risto. That's why I took the two out of them. But now they're together, and Hani's obviously thinking about getting past Risto. Risto's thinking about getting past Journey, so it's going to be a nice mix.
Yeah, we don't currently have too many gaps in the timing gaps on the screen. So visually, though, it does appear that Erhan is just beginning to edge away very slightly. Kuba's not holding him up, and then it's this three-car chain, which is Simičić, Capet, and Al-Sabti, which we're at the back of, which is kind of, looking a little bit about how they can start moving forward. As they come up and round through the Fangio chicane, they'll go through the no-name corner, they sweep off to the left before they come to the Cunningham curve, which is also known as Turn 10. Turn 10, the most famous corner on the Sebring circuit, mainly because during the Sebring 12 hours, there is a kind of a village formed by ardent, or perhaps insane fans who effectively actually build their own grandstands, run their party, and have a kind of a 3-day party at the event. And many of the drivers say you can smell the barbecues at night.
Sounds familiar.
Later in that first lap, where we look at that massive tank slapper there, and it's another car. Oh yeah, that's the 6 car and the 2 car. All right, so that would have been should have been Simičić and Al-Sabti, or are the numbers from previously on the qualifying rather than, I don't know where the numbers are.
No, this was further down. I think this is actually the 4 guys who are actually out of the race. It looks more logical.
Yes, I think the numbers are misleading at that point. As you try and grab the numbers. Unfortunately, the differentiating car colours has been I was kind of thinking, like the whole car we painted light green, but we just have the edging of the Aston Martin GT3 machines as they go down, and they come back to complete lap number 5. And it's taken them just about, well, because it's been 4 racing laps, it's taken them about 6 minutes, so they're 6-7 minutes. They are rerunning around about 2 minutes a lap at the moment.
Yeah. Well, another nice thing in this race, we said it before, they need to make a pit stop. I've had some inside info from a few drivers regarding the fuel uses.
We love a bit of that.
Yep. So, story is as forth. 8.1 litres a lap if they push full out. So let's expect Erwin is doing that right now because he wants to create the gap. Then they can get it down to about 7.8 litres a lap if they short shift and lose about a 10th. Ooh, do we see an overtaking moment there?
So this is the 14th and 15th, right at the back here with Mateusz Mercado, we've got Wojciech Polesny and Peter Brajak, who are running in those positions.
Good to see that also at this part in the field the guys are giving it them all.
They're going to come in now with the heavy braking, and it pops out the inside, cut the inside, you say, into the hairpin, and up will go. Yep. So Van der Heide actually is going in position, but as Berjak has got past Van der Heide there, and they accelerate now up and away through the hairpin into the sweeping corners of Fangio. And as you can see, very, very, I think cleverly, the sim drivers have decided to select the time of day as sunset. One of the corners is called sunset. We're going to see the sun go down during the course of this race, which is going to actually provide some interesting, even on a sim race, it can provide a number of visibility issues.
Yep, Sebring has 2 corners on the track. If the sun goes down, it's properly annoying, so to say. The track gets really shiny and it's difficult to point your car in the right spot.
So now an attempt to get through. It's the 9th place car of Alejandro Lopez Arona, our only Spanish qualifier, and he's being Yuri Kasdorp there is having a right old nibble at the back of him. Looking to see whether he can get him down the Allman Straight. Now, coming in now to the Sunset Bend, we can't see it because obviously we're looking towards day rises with the reverse way down the straight, and he's got the slipstream, he's trying to sneak it up the inside. Oh, and he just got closed off. Will he be able to get through? And he's got him.
Nice.
He's got him. Now, will he get it clean, will be able to ease through, but that like a pretty cleaner move there. So great piece of overtaking. Just got that slipstream, dove in. Move. But I suppose in many ways, so of course, he had to be given that little bit of space rather than getting cut off. And I suppose the guys know that with damage on, and damage will take you out, with such a big prize, overall prize, and cash prizes the whole way down, perhaps discretion, as we say, is the better part of valour sometimes.
Yeah, patience. But combine that with eager to get to the front. But this is just a perfect example of how it could be done.
So a bit nearer the front now. This is the battle for 3rd, which is Simičić, and your two guys, I don't know about your two guys personally, but Risto Capet and Haniel Sabti, they've been nailed together really from the start. The good news for them is Dzwonczyk in the lead and Brzezinski in second are not really pulling away by a great amount. They are probably further away than they want them to be, but that's I suppose a part of the field spread issue, isn't it? But now in fifth place, outside. Tell me how would you now plan your way past Risto?
Well, they're in lap 6 right now, so by this time you've got an idea where you're better or slower or anything related to that. Then it's just preparing. As soon as you show your hand once, Risto can respond to it. So, and on top of that, you see Risto's putting a lot of pressure on Journey at the moment, so you can expect Risto's going to do something as well. So it's basically react to. If you get the chance, you take it. But the other end, if he keeps his patience, Risto's going to do something.
It's very much, it's a very good spot there. It's very much an attitude of the car. The car we're on now, which is Risto, he's been much more aggressive. Oh, now blocking to the inside goes Sivicic, but there's nothing he can do unless he can claim it back on the corner. They are overlapping, and Risto's got him. Beautiful overtake. So Nicodem Vizesi getting a warning. He's down the pack after early accident, probably desperately trying to catch back up again, but he's got a warning for unsportsmanlike behaviour, not a actual stop and go, but a great overtake there by Risto. And I suppose really a lot of that was a by a very, I think, well-timed aggressive run off turn 16 in the Le Mans corner, but also I think in a way again the slipstream and a bit of help as well got him through, as up at the inside, or battling through the 3, 4 and 5 complex. Trying to get through is the 10 machine of Haniel Sabti, but it's not quite worked out. Dzwonczyk stays ahead as they go around the Gurney Bend, also known as a Big Bend, named after Dan Gurney or named after a Big Bend, depending on what part of the year you're at. 2002 the name changed. And now up the outside, kind of breaking at the hairpin. No, he's not going to be able to do it because he's going to get squeezed out and won't have the drive. But a lot of action here now. This kind of, I say, upper mid-pack, 4, 5, 6. They really look to struggle to, I suppose, really want to just try and bridge that gap to the top 3 to give them a chance at the tactics play.
Yeah, now look, Hani was on the bumper from Risto. Risto made an aggressive move, made it stick. Hani got caught, needed to block for Jordi. And look how big the gap is that Risto already has.
Yeah.
This is where you get caught in then. But it's always easy from our position to judge on it, but when you're in the car, you obviously want one thing, and that's going forward. But with him dropping back now, this pack dropping back because they're scrambling around, pit stops is going to be probably the only chance to make something up.
Jordi Gervais is on camera now, and you can just begin to see the lights beginning to shine and illuminate the tarmac and the concrete, of course, because it's mostly concrete here at the Sebring International Raceway. The track is positioned equidistant between Orlando and Miami in the Sunshine Belt of Florida. Runs the biggest race of the year for Floridians is obviously the Sebring 12 Hour, normally held in the early March. And of course, the last couple of years, the Sebring 12 Hours, as they cut the inside, that's a chance. And just cut away from it there, but I think can't see no, he just got blocked off there. So it was an attempt there by, I think that was Zvires.
There was Hani on
trying to get past Simic, yeah, we look at Zvires, yeah.
So he has damage. He has hit someone.
It's usually about damage. I was when I was trying out the sim test earlier, the damage was great. I could see that on the front of the machine. The damage affected the car quite considerably because it's just not the steering non-straight. Does it also have apart from making it more difficult to drive psychologically, does it also reduce your speed when you got damage?
Yeah, especially that's the problem with these cars. If you hit it pretty much dead on the front, you just lose top speed, which makes you so vulnerable in a fight because everybody from behind has more speed and slipstream. And attacking is like a no-go all of a sudden. So that puts him in a very, very difficult spot.
Well, our leader is getting interesting. Is just coming up to actually lap someone as we stay with our 5th place man. So fighting as they do. And coming in there with Al Sabdi, who he'd managed to make himself the focus of this broadcast anyway, which is always a good thing to do. He said, "Look, Mum, I'm on the telly," which is always a great thing. As they sweep now through the Collier curve and up onto the 12 before they come into Tower Turn, which named because you used to be able to see the tower of the control tower of the airfield.
Is there anything you don't know about this place? I'm literally astonished.
I have several more, which I'm going to lay them out. I don't want to peek too soon to get a few more to come. I've got all sorts of stories. You do the racing, I'll do the Jack and Nori part. But
let me finish the part about the fuel. Yeah, brilliant. Fuel then. long story short, if they push as hard as they can, it's probably going to pit in lap 14. If they save a bit, it's going to be lap 15. They're about 50 litres short, so it's quite a pit stop, or actually quite a standstill. And I've been told that every litre they can save extra prior to the stop is a 3/10 gain in the stop as a refuel time. And in the meanwhile, we hear second warning for Nikodem Wisniewski.
He's obviously having can only describe as a panicky attempt to get back from that initial spin.
Yep. All or nothing, probably.
And we now have a drive-through for Alejandro Lopez for retaliation. So there's obviously been some what we would call needle in the midfield. So Wisniewski has got himself a warning, and Lopez has got himself a drive-through, the first of them all, as we run in with the 5th place man, who is still Hani Al-Sabti. He has got a bit closer back up to Simičić now. He's going to try and get past the Slovenian as quickly as he can. He's got a chance, that's a bit too far back to dive up the inside the hairpin there, isn't it?
Yeah, on this level, you know everybody's on the edge with braking. So those kind of gaps is always a death trap when you go for it.
I mean, I suppose that's the sort of thing you would do in the last lap, and it's a do or die
yeah,
move.
100%.
But at this point, when you've got not only have you got probably more than half the race to go, 25 minutes, still to go 15 minutes down, but you've also got, of course, the pit stop. And I mean, just to, I know, because I haven't seen, obviously, I work in the pits all the time in full-size racing. I've not done much pit stoppery in virtual racing. Is it a situation where everyone will get exactly the same time? So if you're coming in, taking 50 litres of fuel, going out, it'll be exactly the same time. There's no variable on that.
No, there's a little bit of variable, but it's within margin. It's not that someone's going to lose 3, 4, 5 seconds.
Okay. So as we continue to look at this, we now go to the flick flag into the Le Mans corner, and now back out onto the Almond Straight with our 5th car. I'm not quite sure as they look into what is sunset bend. The sun's actually setting now. There's probably a couple of laps before you get the full blinding effect of the sun dropping into the Gulf of Mexico, wouldn't it? I suppose from where they're looking.
And to add to the pit stop thing time-wise,
ooh, he's really trying now.
I can safely talk now. It's about a few things. Yes, you need to request your pit stop. Is Hani going to do this into T1 before I go on?
He's thinking about it, but he's
thinking about it.
Got half blocked and then backed out of the block, and he's going to get it.
Perfect.
Oh, but no, it's going to go against him through turn 2, which isn't really a corner, it's a flat out. No, he's got it. And they'll be able to easily break into 3. So Al-Sabti moves up. Simičić moves back another place. He must be sitting there thinking, oh, I'm going to live another day. But that's not really working well for Simičić. But Al-Sabti, who is now able to move forward, but now he's got to start to bridge that gap. They lost, as you say, over the last 3 or 4 laps to Risto, and that is now his work cut out to try and make up another car that's set up well and going fast in Risto Capet.
Can he do it? That's the case now. It's quite a gap. It's quite a gap. If you look at just visually, it's already. I think it's about a second, a bit over.
Yeah.
That's a lot on this level. You saw how close the guys were in quali and practice.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at the top few, less than half a second in qualifying, pushing as hard as they can for the whole field, it's very hard to make up more than 1 or 2 tenths. And then you've got to push, and then you've got to work out whether it's worth it on the fuel drain or it's worth it on the tyre wear. So things are going particularly well for them, but it's really still been. So far, we've had a masterclass from Erhan Dzwonczyk. He's taken out, he's led, and off he's gone. And still, we've seen in second place the entire time Kuba Brzezinski. But the guys who've moved forward have been Risto Capet and Hani Al-Sabti. But they are now getting into that middle phase where they need to kind of turn the laps, shorten the gaps, think about what's happening, and set themselves up for the last 5 or 6 laps, which are going to include some sort of pit stop.
You think it's time to do a few viewer questions?
Go for it.
I'll just start on the top. Bugtide. Anyone know if they are running spec PCs? Well, the answer is simple, no. Everybody has their own PC at home and has variable specs in it.
I'll ask the question. Because otherwise you're just answering questions.
Yeah.
Why was Erhan on pole?
Because he drove the fastest lap time.
In qualifying?
Yeah.
Erwan, I hope it's not that one, what lap do they pit in? That's their choice, isn't it?
Yeah, probably 14, 15, what we heard about.
Okay, and Speedy Key was there. How long have you been involved in competitive racing before the McLaren competition? Quick for you, Rudy, there.
Years and years. When I was 8, I got a go-karts, and I did that till my 16th. That stopped, and sim racing got the replacement. I'm now 26, 27, sorry. So I'd say 19 years.
Typical racing driver. Try and make yourself a couple of years younger.
I
you always do that. So the other question, obviously, are the pit stops mandatory? Well, they're not mandatory. If you don't make a pit stop, you're going to run out of fuel.
Yep.
So you kind of have to do it. It's not for a kind of a legal reason. It's because otherwise you'll have absolutely no fuel in the car. So the sun is setting, and as we carry on looking through the middle of the field with the 4th place man, which is Henry Al-Sabti. He can see the first, he can see second and third. I'm not seeing the leader for a second. It's coming out the pits with someone there. That was Yunus Reveo, who I think may just have finally got himself connected to the server, and off he goes. He's going to go and do a few laps, hopefully not getting on his way.
Out.
So powering now down the back straight through Bishop Bend, and now they're going to go into the Jean Bendian, named after Olivier Jean Bendian, the Belgian driver. Won 3 times here, 59, 61 and 62, won 4 times at Le Mans, and remarkably, in an age of gentleman races, he was asked by his wife to retire for the sake of his children in 1962, and despite being the reigning Le Mans champion and the racing racing, that's what he did. And he gave up racing because his friends kept dying and he wanted to see his kids grow up. Which was, you can't think anything more noble, can you really?
In that time, I could understand it. Nowadays, the cars are so safe that it needs to go really, really wrong in that situation, but back then.
So, why Olivier Jean-Bendian, the Belgian, has a corner named after him, I couldn't find out. But he obviously won a lot of races and was obviously very popular as well. So this is the battle now for 9th and 10th, which is Michi Hoyer and Matthias Ricciardo. Ricciardo now with the 9 car trying to get up the inside. And then looking as they go swinging through turn 2, can you get inside the 3, isn't it? I mean, it looks very tempting. I've watched a lot of racing on this track in rFactor2. There was a big 12-hour race, wasn't there, in March, where in fact you raced and so many others of these drivers also did in different cars. Not this particular Aston Martin GT3. And you always think there's a really good chance to overtake on turn 2, but it doesn't seem to really work.
No, the corner.
Sorry, turn 3, sorry.
Yeah, but it tightens up so badly on the entry. There's only room for one, especially with T4 afterwards. Most of the time it ends in tears. Most of the time it's better to set yourself up and then try it into the happen.
I mean, it is the case, really, isn't it? Where it's one of those fantastic circuits where you have to plan how you're going to overtake. The guys here aren't really going to make mistakes. You have to think about 1, 2, 3, 4 corners ahead and strategically plan and try and get your car possibly not even in the right position in a particular corner, just to get the drive out to then get that run. And it's a real cerebral challenge. I mean, how do you feel Sebring compares to other tracks you race in regularly? But obviously scale tracks and, of course, real life. It seems to me a really interesting circuit that looks in many ways quite simple because it's flat, but actually has a huge amount of nuance to it.
Well, we've said it before, the bumps. I think that's the biggest part that makes it stand out already. That's why it makes it a driver track as well. If you are better in certain places because you can play with the bumps, you're more familiar with the place, you know how it responds. It's concrete, rubbers in differently, different grip levels all the way through. The last corner, 3, 4, 5 lines possible. There's so many variables around this place compared to a newly resurfaced new track, for example, Paul Ricard.
Yeah.
With no feeling to it whatsoever.
I think I would definitely on a simulator get lost at Paul Ricard. It was quite useful. There's so many very hard barriers we hit when I was going around here. I'd have to spin into the boondocks. As we come underneath the start-finish gantry and sweep round into turn 1, a really impressive corner where you have to brake, turn, and then accelerate. I mean, is that the highlight corner of the track, turn 1, or you're at turn 17?
No, I definitely turn 17, the last corner on the track. That's so cool if you get that right with the bump. Of course, everybody's done enough practice; they know how to hit it, but still, it's always that small margin you're playing with, whereas T1 is a bit more straightforward.
Still running in the midfield with Michi Hoyer, Matthias Ricciardo and Peter Burjak, and it's Ricciardo who's our lone Brazilian entry. It's an entirely European entry, and then we have one Brazilian who's got in, so hopefully he's not suffering from more pings, he's a bit further away. But Machado in the middle, he's looking to go out the outside now, and he's going to try and get on the inside, coming into Cunningham. No, he's not. It's turn 10, he's going to back out, and then he may have a little look again, full power as they go around Collier corner, which is named after Sam Collier. Sam Collier was one of the guys who actually suggested the event in 1950, but unfortunately he died at Watkins Glen in 1950 whilst discussing the event, and the first ever race held in late 1950 was the Sam Collier 6-hour memorial race, with the Sebring 12-hour starting in 1952. There we are. I'll throw another one in for that one. That corner. Sam Collier. So Collier Curve is named after Sam Collier, one of the guys who set the whole event up, as we come now through Le Mans. Le Mans was just named because they actually wanted the original idea for the track was they wanted to have a Le Mans in America. So they obviously, it's not quite the same public roads against an airfield, but they still thought, hey, what the heck, we'll call it Le Mans. It looks like it's going to be, no, he's blocked off there, as it seemed that Hoyer and Chard.
The outside, it's possible.
And Hoyer, he's going.
The other one goes into the box.
Are we going to? Is that?
Someone drops
stopper?
out to 2.
Yes, we've got 2 guys. So we have our first 2 stoppers, and that's going to be definitely a tactical stop. So Moritz Lerner and Mateus Mercado have both stopped in a tactical way. They've gone early. They've taken the Nick Daman idea. So remember that. They stopped at 9th and 10th. If they move up the field, I'm right and you're wrong, Rudy.
Yeah. But now, lap 15, which is coming up now, is probably the lap that most of them going to pit. Some of the viewers might think, yeah, but in this game you can drive through each other in the box, everything possible. No. They need to watch out. If you're having a lucky grid spot to someone else, you need to look in your mirror before you take off for not getting an unsafe release or damage. So if the front of the field all goes together into the box, that's going to be one crowded pit lane.
So now all on his own is the Peter Burjak car, and we now move right up there in second place with Kuba Brzezinski, the red flashed car that's been in second place from the off. Started second, has stayed second. Erhan Javinski has also started first and stayed first, but Zhijovski's lead now must be getting pretty likely to be looking to me. That's looking like it's about 2 or 3 seconds. So we're down, running about 15 minutes to go. Just remind you that between now and the end of the race, we will have the phrase that pays. And it pays a fantastic Fanatec CSL Elite wheel and pedals, plus an rFactor game with all the trimmings, which we believe has a cash value of €600. And into the pits comes our second place man, Kuba Brzezinski. So he has blinked first. Everyone else is going around to complete lap 16. Of course, the first that didn't count, of course, really, because that was a warm lap. So this is actually the 14th running lap. Georgie Zvires joins him as well. So we are now running through this pit stop strategy. A lap either way, is that going to make a difference? It's that you have to go early, I think.
Well, if you're in earlier, you need to refuel more, and more refueling is time loss. So does this open it up for Risto? He was not that far away in P3. But after the stop, we can see if I'm right.
Who knows? But yeah, but we obviously expect to see Erhan Yoski, the Macedonian driver, will probably come in this lap, which is the key lap, as you said, which is the 15th running lap, 15th lap at speed, but the 6th lap overall, the first lap counted. Behind the view there on the other hairpin, that's the Chateau Lan Hotel. The Chateau Lan, as you know, is Lan Industries. Don Panos, who used to own this track, and there's a Chateau Lan also near Road Atlanta and several other places. He's kind of a hotel chain he used to run. Dr. Don Panos, probably one of the greatest visionaries in American motorsport post-war, who unfortunately passed away, I think last year, but leaving a fantastic motorsport legacy. Track, of course, these days is not owned by Don Panos, it's owned by the IMSA Corporation, so the International Motorsports Association, who run the IMSA Championship, which is holding a round in real life at VIR this weekend. So Virginia International Raceway and Radio Le Mans are there with full commentary of the race tomorrow afternoon local time. And this is your man. I've decided it's your man now. Hani Al-Sabti running third. He's probably running net fourth because, of course, we did lose to a pit stop. It was Brzezinski from second, so he's come out back in sixth. Pretty much only these top guys haven't come in. Top 5 have not stopped. Everyone else has taken the opportunity.
I think they will now, to be honest.
Let's see if they peel in. And
yep, there we go.
So it's a big train of cars coming in, including your leader, Erhan Jazinski, your second place man, Risto Capet, your third place, Hani Al-Sabti and Jerne Simichix. But the question really is, where will Kuba Brzezinski come out? Will he still retain his second overall? Will he gain some time on the leader? Will he lose some time? So let's see, as we are still covering off those cars and coming down the main straight, that is the 6th place car. That's Cumbersome 6, isn't it? 6th place car. That is Peter Lurjak, who's in 5th, and he also goes to the pits. Right, so the next car around the corner will be Kuba Brzezinski, and he is the red flashed car who'll be going down the main straight any second now. But we already have underway and leaving the pits are Dzwonczyk and not up to speed yet. He's went 4th. I think he's going to lose positions.
I think as well.
I think he's going to lose.
Yeah.
He has his job. That's
2.
Absolutely not worked. Absolutely not worked. Wow, that has been he must have made. He must have made a mistake somewhere, because you can't. That's not 3 litres of fuel.
No, this is more.
He's lost what, 4 seconds?
Yep.
So he must have made a mistake either on the outlap or had a little issue within the pit stop. Can you have like a micro repair you have to make? I know they have alternate repairs on this.
No, you request a pit stop, you drive in, and you try to stop in the most accurate place possible. There's like a margin, but if you're in that box, you get the fastest possible pit stop. But the drivers need to give their own fuel number. If someone gambles on 45 litre and the other one thinks 48, there you go, that's the second. Where Hani almost hits Risto there on the brake. So there's plenty of variables. If one saves more fuel in the first stint than the other and needs to refuel less, it stacks up. But in the end, he pays the price hard, dropping from P2 to P4.
So Kuba basically now has taken himself out of contention to qualify for the world's fastest game at 2. He won't be able to get from 4th to 1st. It has released Risto Capet and Henry Al-Sabti, but visually, Erhan Dzwonczyk is a mile ahead. Well, 2 or 3 seconds he goes back on straight, and I'm just not sure that with 10 minutes to go they're going to be able to actually drive past him. Can they catch up that sort of gap against a man who was the fastest qualifier, has made a statutory, very stable, very successful pit stop, and is leading by looking to me like 3 seconds, would you say?
Yeah, that's at least 3 seconds.
Oh, and up the inside here.
Mistake.
It's going to be, he's going to get his nose cut off, and it's Al-Sabti. Thought he had a chance there, but that got pretty much Capet said, no, you're not going to get past. I mean, there is a reason, there's still a point coming 2nd and 3rd, because there's a cash value on this. There's a cash prize, but at the moment, it does look like our Macedonian champion, Erhan Dzwonczyk, is in the pound seats with probably about 4.5 laps to go.
But this is going to be a good fight. I know Risto really well. We've been teammates for a year, and I always call him Kimi, because Risto is very simple. If you want to overtake me, you're going to get space, but you're going to get 1 car plus 1 centimetre, which you already saw in the last corner. He's always playing that edge on the fair side, don't get me wrong, but he's a hard racer.
So as we come now down to the last 8 or 9 minutes, just to remind you that any minute now, you may or may not hear the phrase that pays. The victor will give you a chance to win the Fanatec CSL wheel and the wheel pedals plus an rFactor game, which we've calculated as a €600 value. That is the online entry. There'll be a strap at the bottom. You can enter that and a chance to win that fabulous wheel and pedal set. So keep listening out, because I will release that name, that phrase that pays, in the next couple of laps. 8 minutes and 45 seconds to go. Erhan Dzwonczyk has given us an absolute masterclass, has led from the start, but Risto Capet and Henry Al-Sabti have shown us you can move forward, you can overtake, you can gain places, but unfortunately, by the time they gain the place they need to gain, Dzwonczyk was too far ahead, or seems to be.
He's already gone. I've said it before the race, he can only lose the race himself. And that points gets even stronger now. When you have this amount of gap, if everything goes to plan, he has it. We can fairly say that. But it's still racing. It's still mechanical up to a certain point. It's PCs, it's internet, it's everything. Bad luck can strike here as well. But he's definitely in a very, very comfortable position.
Yeah, and the key thing really is it may be virtual racing, but it's human beings doing the racing, and human beings make mistakes. Human beings crack under pressure. Human beings ease off too early. Now, I'm not saying that Erhan will do any of those things, but that is why we love motor racing. That's why we love real sport, because it's real people competing. And whilst we might be able to see these guys compete because they're spread all around Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, even one, the Brazilian national, not sure they're racing from Brazil, they are all as they would be on the same track, and they are fighting it out, and they are concentrating, and at some point the pressure must begin to tell as well. And at some point Erhan might suddenly think, oh my god, I'm about to become the winner of World Fastest Gamer qualifier, and that's when things can go wrong.
That must be an awesome feeling, isn't it?
Well, you've had that awesome feeling, haven't you?
Well, I was under pressure. I only had it from getting off the last corner. Then I was like, okay, this is a major stepping stone. But that was nothing compared to the finals.
But we are being entertained royally by this battle for second and third between Risto Capet and Hanayal Sabti as they go through the Fangio chicane, which really isn't a chicane, just a corner, and then come up to the Cunningham corner, named after Briggs Cunningham, guy who built his own cars and his own planes, and was a great sailor and invented a special device that made sails more effective. He was America's Cup captain, and he won as an entrant he won an entrant as well. So he's another one of the motorsport legends of America, but also kind of a randomly named person for the track. But I think it's great. I absolutely love this circuit. I love the whole history. I think we build these Turco-drones, we build these modern circuits which have facilities and they have great media centers and everything else. But the old circuits, in many ways, are the best because the history and the organic way in which they developed and grown gives them that special feeling. And here, it's the bumps and everything else.
I'm just going to say that, just for the record, for the listeners, nothing of this information is written down. The man himself next to me, I'm just looking at it astonished every time again. It's amazing.
I've still got my favourite to come.
Oh, fuck, we've got 5.5 minutes. Which is your favourite? The phrase that pays?
Well, that's coming up. That may be or may not be coming up soon. Who knows? As Henry Al-Sabdi again has another lap staring at the green flashing rear end of Risto Capet as they come sweeping round now and about to go through into turn 3, braking hard, and they'll just ease the throttle on as they go through this sweep of 4 before braking a bit harder for 5, and there's a chance to really let the cars breathe as they go around Big Bend, which was renamed Gurney Bend in 2002 after Dan Gurney, the great American racer who won the Sebring race in, I think, 1959. I think he won the race. Went on the inside, he's getting to know, he's nudged him, and he managed to nut that. I was surprised there. I thought Risto was going to go round. That was quite a heavy tap on the rear end. I mean, he'd have felt that on his rig, wouldn't he? And he did. Counter-steering through.
100% did. But you see my finger? I called it. You can see the sense comments late in the race. He was going to do it.
Okay.
But these guys are teammates in various championships, so they'll race hard, but they're not going to spin each other off.
Yeah, that was
close. And don't forget Kuba. Kuba's behind there as well to capitalize if anything goes wrong.
Okay, so as we now come down below the last 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, it is time for the phrase that pays. And the phrase that pays a chance to win the Fanatec CSL Elite Wheel and Pedals plus an rFactor game with all the trimmings. The phrase that pays is Rudy2, all capitals, R-U-D-Y in capitals, Rudy2. As you can see, go to worldsfastestgamer.com/winbig/ but don't do it till after the race is finished because we will hold the competition a couple of minutes afterwards. But that's how you can win a €600 value set of wheels and pedals. I haven't got a computer, otherwise I'd enter, just because it'd be a great pleasure sitting next to Rudy anyway, once or twice, whatever it may be, as the cars come down now with 4 minutes to go. They're going to get 2 more laps, aren't they? Because they're going to get this lap and 2 more, because that's
3 in total.
Yeah, 3 in total. They've got 2 more from now. They won't get. They'll do 1:58, so that's with 3:47 to go. So these last 2 laps. This is the penultimate tour for these guys as they sweep round turn 1, which I really like turn 1, even though I fell off it 3 times. And then this many turns that don't really count, like turn 2, and then the heavy braking again. Al Sabti, I'm pretty certain he's going to give it another go at the hairpin, isn't he?
Yep, definitely. He's lined up for it again. But in the meantime, replay from the previous one.
This is the last one, so he was a long way back, wasn't he? And he just squeezed it, and it was really like, oh, I'm going to have a go. I've been here this long. Yeah. I'm having a go.
In it to win it.
What I want to do. Good stuff. And he came to he's a bit further back this time as they sweep through the hairpin and now climb. I say climb. It isn't uphill, but it feels uphill because they're going logically the top of the circuit, which is the tower turn. And he'll come into the Cunningham corner, braking hard, turning sharp right before you can then get on the power and literally full power all the way around this, which is the Collier curve, and then you're going to sweep back to turn 12 that has no name. There's the tower for the tower turn, and then you come down the Flying Fortress Straight. Do you know why it's called the Flying Fortress Straight?
Why is it called like that?
Because originally this was Hendricks Army Air Force Base, and the original use of this airfield was a training bomber training base in the Second World War, and they trained the B-17, which is the Flying Fortress, and later on the B-24 and the B-29. So That's why it was suddenly available in the 50s, because you didn't need bomber training bases in peacetime. But that's why it's called Flying Fortress Strait, because that's what they used to do here. They used to train the bomber pilots of the Second World War. So with a few seconds to go, less than 2 minutes, it's looking very much like Erwin Dzwonczyk is going to pick up the victory. We've been watching royally this Midfield Capet and Henry Al-Sabtu race, and just a reminder, Kuba Brzezinski is in 4th after losing all those positions during the pit stop pace. And then we've got Jerne Simičić, Jordi Zveers, Yuri Kazdorp, Mickey Hoyer and Peter Barjek are the other drivers.
And then for the debate, do you think Erwin did it with or without shoes? Because I've seen some chat messages in the chat about this.
I just get the impression that you top sim racers do love the lack of shoe. It's that feeling on the pedal that's what really counts. As we now go round for the last time, we'll be sweeping through Big Bend or Gurney Bend. I don't know whether I'm going to offend the traditionalists or not by saying Gurney Bend, and into the hairpin, also known as the paperclip of this second half of it, pushing away now up onto the Fangio turn. This is a performance to savour from Erwin Dzwonczyk. He has done literally everything right, got a great start, gave himself a gap, went relaxed, stayed solid, did not panic, executed a late pit stop, and then suddenly he now has a 2 or 3 second lap lead, and it's looking like he's going to win the World Fastest Gamer. Rudy, what do you think of this performance?
Hats off. Start to finish, not a single mistake, was not visible. Looking at the gap, I don't think there were many. Just proving himself. He is currently, from the people that qualified for this rFactor2 part of World Fastest Gamer, the best.
So as Erwin Dzwonczyk comes down the Allman Straight for what should be the last time, he's going to be quite close about whether I think there's more than 13 seconds to go. As he powers up to top gear, he will break into Sunset Bend for the final time. Turn round turn 17, he will see the welcoming sight of the start-finish gantry, which will tell him, the young Macedonian, that he is going to be going to compete as the world's fastest gamer, and he will qualify from the eliminator to join our 10 other drivers, and it is Erwin Dzwonczyk who has won this one. A fantastic result. Dzwonczyk wins this from pole. Super result, super race. Second place, great battling Risto Capet and Hani Al-Sabti. Risto got it in the end. Kuba Brzezinski just lost the whole thing during the pit stop, but it's Erwin Dzwonczyk from Macedonia, from pole, who wins world's fastest gamer at the elimination race, and will therefore move forward to the to meet you in person, Rudy, again, and Juan Pablo Montoya at the the intensive part of the event in a exotic location we can't announce just yet.
Well, I said snowboard, you said exotic, so no, literally know nothing.
But it is is he now on his slowdown lap, and he drives now through the Fangio curve at a significantly reduced speed. Just to Jerne Simičić, who was 5th, Jordi Zveers 6th, Yuri Kazdorp, who was 7th, Mickey Hoyer, who was 8th, and Peter. And let's see if we can talk in the car to Erwin Dzwonczyk. Erwin, that was brilliant, and that was textbook. Congratulations, you have won World's Fastest Gamer 2, the Eliminator.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to thank all the organization first, you guys. Yeah, it was really intensive race. First part, I was trying to keep it on the road and just drive my own race. Then the second stint, Risto Capet came, so he was closing by, but yeah, he ran out of time, I'm afraid.
It was a great performance. Did you have any worries? Were you worried as you went in for your pit stop that something could go wrong?
Yeah, that was my biggest worry. Anything else was under control.
We didn't see, because you were so far ahead and driving so well, we didn't see that much of you. You can tell us now, did you make any mistakes? Was there any time you were offline during those 40 minutes?
No, not at all.
Fantastic. Any questions, Rudy?
Looking forward to meet you. Not really a question, but we'll see each other soon. We've raced each other before on various occasions, but well, now I can judge how he is in real life. I think that's the biggest thing for him. He's been in a sim a lot now. How do you look at that way? Erwin, let's put it that way. Do you look forward to being in a real car soon?
for sure. That's my dream. I think that's everybody's dream who race this race tonight.
So Erhan, do you have any full-scale real car racing experience at all?
Not at all.
Wow. This is really what this is all about. Taking people who are pure gamers and giving them a chance in a real racing car. And there'll be 9 other real pure gamers who will be competing with you for the $1 million prize over the course of the back end of October. And we, Rudy, myself, wish you all the best of luck, Erhan. Fantastic performance. Congratulations. Enjoy it and enjoy the training camp as well. Thank you for talking to us. Thanks, Erhan.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
So there we have, the winner was Erhan Yayovsky. In second, it was Risko Capet, and in third, it was Hani Al-Sabti, who put on a fantastic performance for us.
I was close.
It was great racing.
I caught 2 names who were going to go forward.
Realistically, you've earned your fee. So let's have a quick look at the highlights of what turned out to be a very absorbing race everywhere apart from the start, and immediately we lost one of our favourites in Nikodem Wisniewski. It seemed he drifted far too far to the right, to the left on the start, and that took him out of contention. He then picked up 2 warnings for effectively poor driving, as I think he just effectively was probably sitting there just cursing under his helmet, wasn't he? He just wasn't working. And here we see a number of excellent moves through Sunset Bend. Sunset Bend really proved to be the place to get past, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't put it out as the place to pass, but the guys definitely proved me wrong. We've seen inside moves, outside moves, and besides a few moments, and well, the 2 warnings, we've seen really fair, hard racing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to make. Really, I mean, we've seen people give each other space, and I think that's what you, from my experience of some sim racing, that's what's not been there. But these guys have been exceptionally respectful. They've realised that if they clip someone, not only are they going to spoil the person's race, they're going to spoil their own race. They thought, no, I can perhaps live to fight another day. I can perhaps battle differently. We see it again here. The guys leave themselves space. They went around turn 5 then. And there's another chance to go up through the hairpin. So I wonder really whether it was more overtake the 17 or more overtake the hairpin. I think probably I've just won with Sunset over the hairpin.
Yeah, you won. You won.
But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest surprise, we're about to see was really the key thing which surprised the entire race to me was what went wrong with Cooper Brzezinski's pit stop. Because he was the person who was by far the closest to our eventual winner, Erhan Yayovsky, but he lost all the time.
He lost a lot of time.
So some great midfield battles. And this is one of them coming through the hairpin now. This 8, 9, 10 battle entertained us for several laps as the 4 cars were desperately, I think it was one of them was Michi Hoyer, wasn't it, who was involved heavily in that one. And then we got to the one which really was the Battle of Royal, which was Mr. Capet and Hani Al-Sabti, who really did decide that what they wanted to do is put on a show for several laps for us.
Yeah, we've seen touches, we've seen rubbing, but what I say is rubbing's racing, of course. But these guys have been within half a second of each other the whole race. Just when Risto went past earlier on, maybe it was a bit more, but besides that, they've been together the whole time.
That corner is a beautiful example, because up the inside and he just realised, no, it's not going to be, and just eased back, and they in real terms got within, I would say, 4 or 5 centimetres from each other. And we just saw this quality of racing again and again, these 2 particularly, but also the midfield, where they were able to stay close, able to push, and despite all that was on offer, they didn't make those ridiculous lunges.
That possibly helps as well with what was on offer with the prizes as well, regardless the victory tonight.
So just that last little tip there, and there is our winner, Erhan Yayovsky, over the lids, and over to OJ.
There we go. Goes to show you the reality of sim racing. We have a racer who looks like the fastest on paper, takes pole, and then goes on to win the race. Absolute power there of Erhan Yayovsky. Great to watch him race. It'd be great to see him in the final of the world's fastest game. But will he have a chance of winning that massive prize, which is worth $1 million, and maybe racing in a proper car? We will find out when that happens sometime in October. And here is Rudy 2 himself, which apparently the website you need to go to, which is wfgamer.com/winbig. It's been so popular, you have crashed the website. Remember, the phrase that pays is Rudy 2. Make sure you keep hold of that phrase and keep trying. The website is still live, and Nick joins us as well. It's as you predicted, isn't it? The fastest racer that we thought on paper. He took pole and he won the race. There was absolutely no problems for him.
Did his job. Simply said, did his job.
And I just said after the race, it was like real racing. You see that all the time, don't you? Fastest racer takes pole and they go on to win. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. Every lap he needed to do, he did it.
I think this was a fantastic advertisement, and very hot. We'll keep you there. Yeah. A great advert for sim racing because of the quality of the racing. And by quality, I don't mean the speed or the ability, just the way people actually drove like they were driving a real car. We all know the one limitation of sim racing is the Control-Alt-Delete, the F9, which means you can start again and there's no jeopardy in doing what you do. But these guys realised that they had to race fair, they had to race fast, and they had to give each other space. And it was a fabulous race. If someone had said that was a real race on a real track with real cars, no one denied it because no one did anything simmy in it. They did proper racing and it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It's great to see a great leader, but we only had those fabulous battles to keep us entertained in the middle. So, you know, a great 40 minutes.
What I thought was great was when you spoke to Erhan afterwards. He has no real racing experience. He's never really been in a race car before. He said this is his dream. This could maybe get him to his dream. How much do you think that will hamper him when it comes to the finals?
Well, it's like I said with the situation about Mitchell de Jong. That's the fact that people will look at him, in Mitchell's case in this time, he has the experience, so he will be better initially in the car. But Erwin has the talent, clearly, otherwise you don't win this race, has now the position to go in and then have a steeper learning curve and show progression during the weeks. So, two ways of looking at it.
I think it's interesting actually, OJ, because one of the most famous sim racers, the real racers, who came through the PlayStation version, they were selected, even though they weren't the fastest person in the selection process, because they started there and had got to there, and the guy had gone just there to Jan Mardenborough. Jan Mardenborough wasn't the best, but he had just come so far in a week, whereas the guy who won it officially only had done that, and suddenly that was the man they backed, and he's obviously been paid off because he's had a fantastic career since that. And that's what we're looking for. So actually, in many ways, starting from scratch could actually give you an advantage in the judge's mind, because they'll be thinking, wow, if he can prove that much, what have we got?
The whole Jan Mardenborough story was fascinating, wasn't it? We've got the start here. I mean, there was action right at the start, wasn't there? We lost one of the favourites almost immediately.
Yeah, this is. I've watched this now 3 times. I think what happened was he was trying to avoid hitting the second place man Simičić, and he overcorrected, and as he goes across too far, and then picks up the 4 car and then spins round. And I think he doesn't help a couple of other cars as well, because whilst obviously in a sim you don't see the small bits of damage get picked up, I mean obviously he had clipped them, so they would have, as Rudy explained, perhaps lost some of their aerodynamic efficiency, lost a bit of straight line speed. But suddenly, yeah, the guy who was the fastest qualifier from the general hot lap competition, Nikodem Wisniewski, and the guy who was second to Rudy last year in the world's, 2 years ago in the world's fastest gamer, gone lap 1, obviously hit his head because he got 2 warnings for over-aggressive driving after that.
I tell you, if that was me, and that was me in that situation, my rig would have exited via the window. At that moment, I'd have made a massive mistake. Who had the bad pit stop?
Brzezinski.
Did you find out what happened there?
No,
because he was in for a good position.
He was in second. He came in a lap before everyone else, and he exited in 4th, and not a very good 4th. So he lost 2 positions and 3 seconds for no discernible reason. Now, it may have been he made a mistake in finding his pit box, or it may have been on his outlap. He had a little mistake we didn't see. But that was a big effect for him. But more importantly, it suddenly gave that extra amount of space for Erhan to relax even more than he already was.
Now, obviously, our leader pretty much, well, there was no real mistakes from him, but there was another crash as well, wasn't there? There was a big old moment halfway through, if we watch this through.
Yeah, this is, I think...
this is the opening lap. Sorry, this is the second crash on the opening lap.
And again, I think that may have been Petr Burjak, I think, looking from the green colour of the car, who spun around, but they got knocked back together again. And he was one that kind of... I think that kind of is a perfect example of a kerfuffle.
A kerfuffle.
It was a kerfuffle in the midfield.
Is that the dictionary definition of it?
Of a kerfuffle, where everyone's going, but they all kind of got going again. And the interesting thing was, I think, really, it'd be really great to get a little kind of a debrief of somebody's driver and think, right, you had that bit of a contact. Did that affect the car, or was it fine? Or did you have a little bit of a top speed loss or whatever? Because, yeah, you don't get that visual indication of damage you would get in a full-scale event. But that was, what happens when there's cars. It was actually caused by the car right at the start. You see the car on the who took the corner 3 too tight, and he effectively fell off the curb, and everyone had to kind of concertina away from him.
And that's what caused the problems, which is why you should always be out front. But there were battles. We might not have seen them at the top of the race, but there were some great battles all the way through.
I mean, Rudy, top marks. We said to him, choose 2 drivers to come forward, and they not only did Hani and Risto come forward, they gave us hours of fun. Now, this is actually but first we're starting off with the midfield battle between the 10th, 11th place one. This was a bit of a kind of a swatch back from the 16, the 1 there. So there's a lot of accidents. There was action all the way through because the midfield was so condensed, wasn't it? Really. Yeah. And so the chance to get past was always there. And so there's a lot of guys think, right, okay, if I can get into a train of cars, I get a super strip team, I'll try and get up the inside. But interestingly, you'd have expected a lot of kamikaze dives. They weren't happening. People were saying, well, I'll get half a person, I'll get one driver, and then often there was not too much of a fight on the way out. I mean,
do you think people weren't driving aggressively enough? I mean, because obviously,
no.
Do you think there wasn't room for it?
This was as aggressive as it should be. I think sim racing in general has had a name in the past where people just ram each other off, hit escape, and do whatever they want in the evening. I think tonight was an example that the community in general now, at least rFactor2 where we looked at, is at such a high level that they can make a sim race look like a real race.
It did. I mean, it did look like a real race. I mean, all the crew working on this work on all sorts of things, from Formula 1 to Formula E to GT racing. And it was like when I used to work on the pit lanes, I'd be sitting in there thinking, this is just a normal race, and that's what was so great about it. Yeah. I think a line that you said, Nick, which I loved, was the fact that it might be virtual, but it's real humans who are doing the racing. And I thought that was a great line.
Yeah. I think it's
one of the greats that he said.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to forget that because we see it. I mean, even whilst the graphics are fantastic, we all know they are computer generated. But behind every input, every brake, every steering, every gear change with this is somebody pushing a button in a room in Estonia, in Macedonia, obviously, in Germany, in Belgium, and it's really amazing to think that that's what we brought together, that community of drivers all around Europe and one Brazilian who can race together and race there respectfully.
He was so laid back, wasn't he? When you interviewed him at the end, he was just like, yeah, you know what.
It's going to hit him when he's on the plane. When he's on the plane and someone's saying, can we measure you for a race helmet and a hands device? We go, oh!
That's when you start getting...
a plane to get there.
Oh, possibly. There might be a plane. Good point, yeah.
Who knows? We're not talking about the location.
We're teasing tonight.
There's some sort of transport we require to get to the finals. We're not saying what.
I can't wait for the finals. They're going to be so exciting. And it's going to be great to see him race there. What does he need to do between now and then, do you think? What should he be doing?
Work on anything besides the sim part.
You think anything?
He's shown what he could do in the sim. Between now and the finals, the time's not long enough to be professional in all the other sims that might be used. So rather just have a brief go in those, have an idea how it works. Well, obviously rFactor2 is on top of the game, but the finals will also face a lot of real-life cars, but also physically, mentally, those kind of things. And I think that's the part where, from his side, probably the most gain is, I don't know him in person, I've never seen a picture of him, I don't know if he's completely...
You've raced him though, haven't you?
I've raced him plenty, but I don't know if he's fit or he's not fit. That's the
Get
part
in the gym.
No, I don't know if he needs to, but I think as any of the finalists in this case is about make sure your stamina, all those kind of things are up to a certain level as well, because you will be tested on it.
Exciting. So exciting. Great commentary from both of you. Thank you very much. Now, this is a big moment. It's time for the winner of the All-in-Sport rig. We saw it over there before. We know Rudy's had a go. Nick, you've had a go.
I've crashed at every corner.
Oh, do you know, I managed to get myself stuck going backwards into something where I couldn't get out of it. Yeah. I had to reset the game.
What I particularly liked was when we were trying to do your opening piece, you were driving the wrong way around the track, weren't you?
I was at one point. And do you know what they said to me? They went, just to make it dramatic, can you... Oh, you have. So I put it straight to the door. Anyway, that is the rig that you can win. Thank you so much to everyone who has taken part via all of our social channels on the World's Fastest Gamer. It is worth $30,000. The person who has won it said about his rig, he said it is made of wood, a G29 wheel and an old PS4. I mean, that's an old style setup right there. Not anymore, my friends. You now have that $30,000 rig, the all-in-sport rig. The person who has won it via Instagram is fully involved. It's on the screen right now. Thank you very much. If I had a drum roll, you would get it. Everyone else, can we all clap, please? Thank you very much. A little bit of job for that moment. One of the camera guys who only got one hand just slapped his face, which is dedication to the clapping course.
I don't know how fully involved he is, but I am massively envious.
I get it's a rig, isn't it? I just don't know where I'd put it in my house. I'd just get rid of one of the bedrooms. Somewhere. One of the kids can sleep on the roof.
The children can share.
Well, listen, it has been great. What's been your highlight of the race? Just give me one highlight from that race that we saw.
Genuinely, I really enjoyed the battle between Rudy's two boys, Risto and Hanley. They really raced so cleanly, so cleverly, and at the end of the day provided us with 10 minutes of great entertainment, which all we can ever ask for in a motor race.
Your highlight?
I just look at the bigger picture as a highlight, which I just explained. That these bunch of guys showed that sim racing can look like real racing. It should be treated as real racing.
Absolutely. It is coming of age, if it hasn't already. Thank you to Nick. Thank you to Rudy as well, who will be there at the finals. I've had an absolute ball. If you missed season 1 of The World's Fastest Gamer on your TV, they're going to broadcast the episode on Let's Go Racing YouTube channel. You can see exactly what Rudy had to go through to win his life-changing prize. That is it from the Silverstone qualifiers. We can now go outside. We can chill out slightly. Is there any water at Silverstone we can go throw ourselves into?
Realistically, unfortunately, no. Mallory Park's got a lake.
Yeah, from at Mallory Park.
Portimao actually does have a very shallow swimming pool, about a foot low, at the back of the paddock. So we'll go to Portugal and do that now.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Thank you to Nick. Thank you to Rudy as well. Make sure you keep in touch. On to the finals of the World's Fastest Gamer. We'll see who wins then. Yes, mate.
Thank you.
Hey, no worries.
Good. That was lovely.